This is the frontal lobe. It's the command center of your personality, movement, and decision making. And when seizures hit here, they can hijack your actions before you even know it. Chapter 1. Location and appearance. The frontal lobe is the largest lobe of the brain, sitting just behind your forehead and extending back to the central sulcus, which separates it from the parietal lobe. It occupies the anterior portion of each cerebral hemisphere and rests above the orbits of the eyes. On the surface, the frontal lobe is divided into several gyri: the superior, middle, and inferior frontal gyri, and more medially, the precentral gyrus, also known as the primary motor cortex. Deep within its structure are important regions like the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and orbitofrontal cortex. It's roughly the size of your open hand, and in terms of its physical layout, it's a complex terrain of folds and grooves, each playing a role in higher cognition and motor control. Chapter 2. What it does. The frontal lobe does a little bit of everything and a lot of what makes us human. It's in charge of planning, decision-making, emotional regulation, social behavior, and voluntary movement. The left inferior frontal gyrus contains Broca's area, which is essential for speech production. The prefrontal cortex, the forwardmost part, is where we weigh consequences, suppress inappropriate behaviors, and manage short-term memory. The motor strip, located along the precentral gyrus, sends the commands that move our muscles. According to a foundational study by Miller and Cohen titled An Integrative Theory of Prefrontal Cortex Function, the frontal lobe allows us to flexibly adapt behavior to context, something other animals largely lack. It's the seat of executive function. A 2010 fMRI meta-analysis by Needham et al. Also emphasized the frontal lobe's central role in organizing goal-directed behavior. Chapter 3. What happens during a seizure? Seizures that begin in the frontal lobe are fast, often dramatic, and sometimes bizarre. They might involve sudden body movements, vocalizations, or complex motor behaviors that look purposeful but aren't. Because the frontal lobe is involved in movement, frontal lobe seizures can look like thrashing, bicycling legs, or even aggressive gestures. But they're often brief, sometimes just a few seconds, and they can occur in clusters. What makes frontal lobe seizures particularly tricky is their tendency to generalize quickly or mimic psychiatric conditions. In some cases, people may even remain conscious. According to Lee and colleagues in their study Frontal Lobe Epilepsy, Clinical Characteristics and Surgical Outcomes, 2015, these seizures are often misdiagnosed, partly because EEG recordings from this region are more difficult to interpret due to the rapid propagation of the seizure. Another study by Gonzalez-Martinez et al., titled Frontal Lobe Epilepsy Surgery, the Cleveland Clinic Experience, 2011, emphasized the importance of detailed neuroimaging and invasive EEG to accurately localize frontal lobe seizure foci before surgery. Chapter 4. What happens when it's damaged? Damage to the frontal lobe can be devastating. Depending on the specific area, it can impair movement, planning, attention, memory, and emotional stability. Damage to the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex can result in poor problem-solving and loss of goal-directed behavior. Lesions in the orbitofrontal cortex can lead to impulsivity, socially inappropriate behavior, and lack of empathy. If Broca's area is affected, speech production becomes difficult or impossible, and long-term damage can cause personality shifts, sometimes subtle, sometimes extreme. Frontal lobe injuries are common after head trauma, and when coupled with epilepsy, can worsen seizure control. Executive dysfunction, apathy, or disinhibition are all possible. When the motor cortex is involved, seizures may evolve into what's known as Jacksonian March seizures, where twitching begins in one part of the body and spreads following the homunculus map of the motor strip. It's a clear example of how tightly function is linked to structure. And that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in next Tuesday's episode.